All right, I already know I'm going to be pushing news a little bit here, so bear with me. All right, we'll get to Kevin Hart in the newsroom here soon, but I definitely want to highlight some of what the Republican candidates for governor last night at the Peoria-Woodford County Republican Forum had to say about COVID-19 policies. Now, 5 of the 6 candidates were there at last night's forum. The one that wasn't, Richard Irvin, forum organizers say they invited him, but he declined, so they had an empty stool up on stage. We'll actually hear a reaction from one of the candidates on that here in a moment. But let's get to the first question here about COVID-19, going to Gary Rabine, a businessman from the Chicagoland area. And here's what he had to say in response to Governor J.B. Pritzker's 2 years of COVID-19 emergency declarations.
When COVID first happened, I was blessed to be able to be on the calls with Republican governors across the country. I've been in the RGA, Republican Governors Association, for almost 6 years now. So I was able to be on these phone calls talking to health scientists across the globe, as well as advisors on health, advisors on economics. And over those conversations, we heard governors, Republican governors, go in all different directions. Some ready to shut down their states, some ready to keep them open. I actually got on LinkedIn back then after these calls, and what I learned, I said, you know, we can't shut down our state. This is an opportunity for our state economically to get stronger than our surrounding states. We knew that back then. The health scientists said that this wasn't going to be harsh on kids. If you're healthy, under 60 years old, you're going to be in pretty good shape. If you're older, up in age, or you have health conditions, you know, we got to be careful. So to educate and collaborate was the key. This governor, we're going to show, history will show that our governor did the absolute worst job of any governor in the country. He was a dictator. He wasn't a governor. He said he cared about lives, but he didn't care about livelihoods. And what we find is, in retrospect, looking back now, we know that Illinois was one of the worst states in the country, average on health, average on death, and we decimated our economy, put more businesses out of business than any other state in the country, okay, per capita. So he was a total failure. And dictators tend to be that.
So that's Gary Rabine. Let's hear now from Max Solomon, who also last night was asked that question about COVID-19 policies. Here is Max Solomon from last night's Peoria and Woodford County Republican Forum.
I appeal to you, elect a Republican Attorney General. I think we have 2 fine gentlemen running for that office. Any one of them would do better than who we currently have in there. We have to enforce the laws. We need an Attorney General that understands that they work for you and I. We need an Attorney General that's going to be independent and regardless of who's governor will be able to fight for us. That's what we need. The second question, what would I not do? What would I do? Here's what I would not do. I'll start with that. When the pandemic started, I'm an ordained minister, a Christian ordained minister, and you can imagine the horror that I felt when one of the first institutions or places that the governor shut down was the church. In the face of a crisis, I learned to go to God. My faith is the first thing that I go to, I cling to, I pray for wisdom, for guidance. And then you bring together experts who are going to advise you. I'm not going to shut down the state. I'm not going to make it worse. And I'm definitely not going to go after your kids.
So again, Max Solomon responding to that question. And now let's hear from former state senator from Waterloo, Paul Schimpf, who was also there. And he was a member of the state Senate during the first year of COVID-19. And here's some of what he had to say last night when asked about the incumbent governor's reaction and how he handled COVID-19 with executive orders. Again, Paul Schimpf.
When President Harmon and Speaker Welch were derelict in their duty, they didn't silence my voice and Darren's voice, they silenced your voices. Administrative overreach, governing through executive order and administrative rule is a huge threat to our liberty, not only in Illinois, but nationwide. That's why one of the 6 pillars of our New Start for Illinois policy agenda is making a fundamental change to the Illinois Administrative Procedures Act, saying that emergency administrative regulations or administrative regulations that raise fees or penalties do not become effective unless there are 7 affirmative yes votes from JCAR. That will make it much harder for J.B. Pritzker to rule by executive order. As governor, got a short amount of time. As governor, I will do 3 things differently than J.B. Pritzker. 1, I will follow any rules myself that I put out for other people. I will partner with the Illinois General Assembly, and I will understand the science. I will take the time to understand the science and listen to the people of Illinois.
So that's Paul Schimpf. Let's hear now from State Senator Darren Bailey, who, of course, filed a lawsuit against the governor back in the summer of 2020. And here's what Darren Bailey had to say when asked about how he would handle COVID-19 differently than Governor J.B. Pritzker handled COVID-19. Again, here is Darren Bailey from last night's Republican Forum.
Thank God we live in a constitutional republic where every so often we have free elections and we can change these tyrannical leaders out of office. And that is exactly what is going to happen in November. So friends, listen. Government educates. Government informs. Government comes up with solutions and makes that available. We, the people, decide how we're going to live our lives. We decide how we're going to run our business, when we need to close our business, if we need to close our schools. Government has no business in that. So again, I'm a farmer. That's all I did all my life. Farmers fix things that are broken. Farmers solve problems. Farmers grow things. And whenever the mandates and the lockdowns hit 2 weeks to flatten the curve, something didn't feel right. And the reason something didn't feel right, because this little thing called freedom exists here. And we knew that we can't go back to where we came from. So again, I did something about it. I sued Governor Pritzker. I took him to task. I took it to party leaders and I said, let's do something. And no one would do anything because of fear. But friends, when we do the right thing as Americans, we can serve our constitutional republic.
So Darren Bailey, his thoughts on that. And then finally, we'll hear from Jesse Sullivan, who was the last to speak on the issue of COVID-19. Here is what Jesse Sullivan had to say at last night's forum, featuring the 5 of 6 candidates for the gubernatorial nomination.
Thomas Jefferson said, "A government big enough to do everything for you is a government big enough to take everything from you." This is what we see with the Democratic Party and J.B. Pritzker during this crisis. Big government control. This is why I don't like politicians. You know, most of them are followers. They're like this. Let's see what everyone else is doing. Let's follow right behind. That's what J.B. Pritzker did with Joe Biden. He was just following right behind Fauci, Joe Biden. You know who didn't? Ron DeSantis. He's someone... I asked myself, what allowed Ron DeSantis to lead when no one else would? He was rooted in a set of values. He valued freedom. And he said, I am going to lead by these values of freedom. And that's what he did. He was strong. He took charge. He was a bold leader. So for me, stepping in as a conservative outsider, I'm a constitutional conservative. I believe we need limited government, especially at times like that, whenever it's a crisis. If you want to know my governing philosophy, it's this. Take power away from these corrupt, career insider politicians and give it back to the people of Illinois.
And I know I'm so late for news, but there's one last bit I wanted to share with you from last night's forum in Peoria and Woodford County for the GOP gubernatorial candidates. Again, 5 of the 6 were there. You've heard from Darren Bailey, Paul Schimpf, Jesse Sullivan, Max Solomon, and Gary Rabine. But Richard Irvin was not there. Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin was not there. And last night, Darren Bailey, when asked to answer any question he wanted to answer, he proceeded to walk toward the empty stool that Richard Irvin could have been at if he agreed to show up to this forum last night. And he went on to talk about Richard Irvin in particular. Here's Darren Bailey from last night's forum as he walks over to the empty desk.
I want to talk about this empty seat. I don't believe that ever in the history of Illinois politics, a party has allowed anyone to grossly lie as this man does. Everything he says is a lie. His lieutenant governor doubled your taxes. He raised taxes in Aurora. She told me to put on my effing mask when I stood for you fighting for the mask mandate in Springfield. Friends, enough is enough. We have got to stand up and understand what is going on in this race, or else we lose everything that we stand for in the state of Illinois, and we're going to see the massive exodus like we have never seen before. This nonsense has got to stop. We watch cheating in Lake County.
So again, last night's forum kind of gives you a flavor of what to expect in the next 9 weeks as we head to the June 28th primary, and we'll bring you all the latest here on WMAY. Now, 7:40. I am woefully late for news, and Kevin Hart has been